Welcome to another Beach Cliff Studios video. We're here today to talk about the most loved park in the country, the most loved park in the Cedar Fair chain. We're here to talk about Michigan's Adventure. So go on and tell them why we're here talking about how great Michigan's Adventure is.
Because everyone thinks Michigan's Adventure sucks.
So let's get down to the question at hand. Is Michigan's Adventure the worst Cedar Fair park? The answer is yes.
If you take away Shivering Timbers, this park becomes Magic Springs. I know a lot of people, when you talk Michigan Adventure, everybody talks about the obvious elephant in the room. They don't add anything ever.
Right.
Gosh,
That's why.
that's sad.
And why do people think it sucks? It's because they have no good roller coasters. They have one good roller coaster. But naturally, when a coaster enthusiast hears that a park doesn't have many good roller coasters, what do they think? They think, oh hey, they should invest in that park and get them a new roller coaster. But the thing is, Cedar Fair shouldn't invest in Michigan's Adventure and get them a new coaster. And this is why.
So we're saying that they shouldn't invest. And maybe that's because Cedar Fair is a company, they're a business, and in order to run a successful company, you need to make
Money.
And when you have a park like Michigan's Adventure, like Dorney, like Worlds of Fun, all those parks that people say are the losers in the Cedar Fair chain, all those parks have something in common. They're all smaller regional parks that they need to keep the overhead down.
Yes.
So in order to keep overhead down, you need to keep the coaster collection low. You need to keep rides at a minimum because all you're doing is drawing off of the local region.
Yes.
Michigan's Adventure isn't drawing people from all over the country.
Yes.
Their biggest city is what?
Is Grand Rapids, which only has like 200,000 people. And yeah, everyone who goes to Michigan's Adventure are just going to be locals who live by Grand Rapids and just closer to Michigan's Adventure.
So in other words, they're not going to get a huge uptick in attendance because they added a new coaster. And that's why parks add new coasters, because they try to go from 3 million visitors to 3.5 million visitors or whatever. They're
Yes.
trying to add a lot of new visitors by bringing in that big new attraction.
Yes.
But the thing is, when you put in a new coaster, you create a lot of overhead.
Yes.
And we did a little bit of nerd math.
Take a look at this. Jesus Christ. That right there is...
And we realized that just adding a new coaster could add about $500,000 minimum a year onto their overhead. And that might not sound like a lot, but whenever you're dealing with a small regional park, overhead versus your revenue and all that is very tight. So you need to keep that locked up. You can't just add random new coasters all the time. So it's in Cedar Fair's best interest as a company to not invest in these smaller parks, aka Michigan's Adventure. The people that are going there are the general public.
And they're making them money.
They're the ones. Coaster enthusiasts aren't making them money.
Yes.
We're such a small portion. The regular GP are who gives parks all the money and makes it possible for us enthusiasts to go to these parks. A regular person going to an amusement park isn't worried about the top new coasters.
No.
They don't know the manufacturers. They don't know that this SLC isn't good. They ride it and they're like, oh boy, that hurt my head, but I had fun. They just go there to have fun. They're not nitpicking on every pop of airtime they're supposed to get or anything like that.
Well, maybe I'm a GP.
Oh, well, I'm kind of GP in that way too because I like to just go and have fun. Oh, GP right there. But the way we figure that they can get to an extra $500,000 minimum a year in extra costs is because when you add a new coaster, you have to hire new people.
Yes.
And we figure, what does it take to run a new coaster or run any coaster? Like 4, 5, 6 people, whatever. Couple people checking restraints, working the board, working outside the queue. And a few people might not sound like a lot, but whenever you pay each of those people for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day over 170, 180 days throughout your operating season, then that adds up. And another thing that adds up is the maintenance. Because
Yes.
a roller coaster could cost anywhere from like a couple $100,000 to a couple $1 million a
Yes.
year
Yes.
to maintain. So if Michigan's Adventure and all these other loser parks in the Cedar Fair chain but if all of them were getting all these new investments, then that would be a losing proposition for Cedar Fair. And then Cedar Fair would be losing money on those parks and then not able to put the investments into Cedar Point, Kings Island, Knott's, Carowinds, all the parks that
They like.
that actually draw in money and draw in visitors and draw in new guests each year whenever they do put in a new attraction. So that's basically it for why we think that Michigan's Adventure just doesn't deserve a new coaster.
No.
If Cedar Fair ran like Six Flags when they bought Geauga Lake and put in like 3 new coasters in one season and then expected 3 million guests a season and they ended up down to like less than 1 million guests a season, and then they have to sell it. So Cedar Fair can do that and buy up parks, lose money and sell it, and then our platinum passes don't get us into as many parks and they lose money, and maybe that money comes out of the pocket for Cedar Point, and maybe Cedar Point or another park doesn't get that new coaster. So there's all those things to think about whenever you go on and complain about why Michigan's Adventure isn't getting a new coaster. Think about it, people. This is a business and they need to make money, and we think it's fine that Michigan's Adventure is getting no new investment. Maybe a new garbage can, right?
I mean, maybe if they're lucky. So that is the end of this video. Make sure you likey, subscribey, and hit the notification bell and comment and say, I love Beach Cliff Studios. Yippee!
And tell us if you disagree. That you think Michigan's Adventure is your home park and you're like, oh my god, we need a Giga here. We need a flying coaster. We need a dive coaster. We need something new here. Let us know. And we will comment and disagree with you, obviously.
Okay.
So thanks for watching, and we will see you guys next time on Beach Cliff Studios.